Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again. Guys, I've got a good tip for you today. I did a video not too long ago where I held up one of these methylate Zoom Super Flukes. This is a special order run color that I was able to get my hands on. So I don't have a whole ton of these, but in a video, I grabbed one out of a pack like this and pulled it up, and the bait was really bent pretty good. It was very misshaped. And I mentioned in that video that, I could take care of that and fix it. So I've had a lot of people since then reach out and say, Matt, how do you fix those baits? Because a lot of us end up getting baits in our packages that are bent like that. And that's not a good thing, especially if you're talking about a soft jerk bait like these flukes. If I run this one, which has been straight, and this is the one that I actually held up in that video that looked like this at the time, if I use this one, it will really run well in the water. If I use this one, I'm not going to get the same motion. In fact, it's not going to dart and glide like it should. And a lot of times this happens with baits of various forms by all manufacturers. It could be a cross style bait where one of the flappers was folded over and it almost has a crease down it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's not a rare thing to get a pack of plastic baits and have one or two be somewhat have them be deformed because of how they were packaged. I mean, I'm pretty careful now, like specifically with these methylate flukes. I make sure I stack them up perfectly and the baits are really straight because that's going to keep them in good shape. I've got another friend who takes all of his plastics out. Doesn't matter what type it is, puts them into like Plano hard cases and layers them perfectly so that he doesn't have any deformed baits. Now, I'm not that crazy about it because I do know that when I get one like this, or if I store them improperly and I end up causing one to look like this, I can fix them. And it's not that hard to fix them. Now, I know other people that when they go through a bag of plastics, if they find that bait, they're throwing it in the garbage. You don't have to do that. There's a simple way to take a bait that looks like this and make it look back to being brand new. And it's a simple process, and it just has to do with adding heat. Now, there's several different ways you can do this. Some people like to boil their baits. They take a pot of hot water, boiling water, put it in there, and the bait should naturally kind of reform itself. Personally, that's too many steps for me. What I use is a heat gun. This is a cheap heat gun that I end up usually buying a new one every year off eBay. You can get them for like 10 or 13 bucks. I use this heat gun specifically normally to take the wrap off my boats, and that whole process usually leads to me burning out these cheap ones. But the reality is they're awesome for applying heat to reform your baits too. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, generally, I don't hold it and shoot at it because when you're shooting with a heat gun, or you can use a hair dryer too, a lot of times, you're pushing air, so the bait's going to be flopping all over. What I actually do is put it up like on my desk and apply heat to it. Now, I'm going to do it. Let's see if you guys can see it. I'm going to reposition you a little bit so you can see how dirty my desk is. And we're just going to see if we can get you, because I don't want anyone questioning what I'm doing. All right. That should probably be good here. This is high budget. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this, I'm going to turn my heat gun on, but I'm going to try to get my bait to kind of stick so I can apply a little pressure to it. And hopefully we're right in there. So I'm just going to apply the heat. And you don't want to melt the bait, but you can see we're making some progress. All right, so we've got that one. See how it's regained its form? Hopefully you can see that. Now, they are somewhat tacky if I were to touch this right off the bat. But in this case, this bait is back to normal. You give it a second to cool off, and you're going to be good to go. You can see it's regained its straightness. Looks just fine and dandy as I rotate it for you. And this bait is good to go again, just like the original. So let me switch you back over. Like I said, high budget. But you can see we've got this bait back into its normal form as a jerk bait now, or a soft jerk bait. This bait will function just properly. And it's that simple. So what I'll end up doing is going through a lot of my different bags of plastics. And when I find one, I'll either straighten it or I'll end up just putting it to the side, and I'll sit down one day when I've got like 20 different baits. I'll do it in front of the TV and I'll fix them that way. But this bait is good to go. It's that easy. You just need to apply a little bit of heat, whether that's, like I said, some people like to boil them. I just find using a heat gun or a hair dryer is just as easy and actually is less steps. And it's something that I can do right down here in the tackle room. So hopefully this answers all those questions, because when I did that video, I had a ton of people asking me, how do you fix that? If you've got an easy way to do it, let us know how you go ahead and do that, and then show us what you do with it. So, I mean, we've taken this bait and gotten it nice and simple and straight, and it's back to being exactly how we want it to be. It's that simple. A little bit of heat. Just be careful not to completely melt it, because then you could deform the bait. But if you're careful with it and you check it every little bit, it's pretty simple. So hopefully you enjoyed this, guys. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and go get yourself a $13 heat gun off eBay that will last you 9 to 11 months, maybe. Maybe you'll get a year and a half out of it, but just keep in mind that if you're buying a cheap one like I do every year, they don't last that long. Good to go. Good to go. Thanks for watching.